Hi everyone, I'm Jeff Plum from PingSkills. Welcome to the Ask the Coach show, episode 7. And again, Alois is with me. Welcome, Alois.
Morning, Jeff. How you going?
Yeah, very good, thank you. It's been a cold day and night here in Melbourne.
It has. Yeah, very
Cold weather.
Yeah, we had I think 27 or 30 degrees a couple of days ago, and yesterday was 13 or 14. Cold.
Yes, crazy Melbourne weather for you. All right, well, let's get into some good questions here. We've got a question from Ali. And Ali says, when I go to the club and play with my friends and other players, I'm better than most of them and I can beat them 3-0 or 4-0. But when I play in a tournament against those same players, I get scared, and even if the other player is a lot weaker than me, and I often lose to them. So do you have any advice for Ali?
Yeah, so Ali, firstly, understand that this is really common, and this is what a lot of people face. So even the opponents that you're playing are facing similar sort of issues. It's important that when you're playing these games that you start to put them into perspective a bit. So think about trying to improve your game rather than focusing so much on the result. If you're completely focused on the result of the game, then you are going to start to tighten up and tense up. And the more the match means to you, the more you're going to tighten up. So go out there thinking a little bit more about how you can play some better table tennis, letting yourself play the strokes and things that you are practicing in your game, in your training session, and then try to implement that into a game situation as well. A lot of it comes down to your emotional control, and we cover a lot of these sort of issues in our sports psychology section. So if you go to the homepage of pingskills.com, and you'll find the sports psychology section there. Go into there. There's a few really interesting lessons that we put up there.
Okay, Ali. So yeah, remember, you're definitely not alone here. We get a lot of questions about this, and yeah, it's really about, as Alois said, the emotional control. So have a look at those videos and let us know if they help you out. Okay, so now we've got a question from Roman, and he says that, Alois, we show how to execute different strokes, and watching and trying to repeat your move works well for most players who are about the same level as we are, but he wondered what adjustments should a player do if he is a seemingly lower or higher level.
Yeah, sure. So Roman, I think that you're talking about the height of people. So it's basically the same. So it doesn't matter whether you're really tall or really short. Your technique is basically the same because it's relative to you. You'll find that if you watch all the best players in the world, some of them are really tall, some of them are short, and they have similar technique. So it's important to have a really good base with your legs, wide, spread your feet nice and wide, get down nice and low in your own self, and then execute similar techniques. The technique really doesn't change significantly. There might be small changes in angles or small changes in finish position, but your basics are really the same. So don't get too caught up with thinking that if I'm really tall, I need to do a different type of swing, or if I'm really short, I need to do something different. You don't. Okay, the basics, the mechanics of the strokes are the same.
Great. All right, Roman, I hope that helps you out. Okay, now we've got a question from Evgeny. So Evgeny says, you know the backhand block executed with the wrist movement when the bat curves the ball on its side and decreases its spin? So I think he's talking about a backhand block like that, but Alois, you can probably comment more on that. He says he's wondering if the same kind of stroke can be executed on the forehand side.
Yeah, well, it can, and probably my favourite, Jan-Ove Waldner, was a player that I saw execute that sort of stroke. It's a stroke that players do use sometimes. I suppose the backhand is utilised a bit more because on the backhand you tend to be a little bit more defensive, and this adds a different dimension. So by pushing the bat across the bat and getting some side spin on the ball, but often players don't use it on the forehand side, because when they see the ball on the forehand, they want to make more of an attacking stroke. But it can be a really good change-up. And if you watch some of the great matches of Jan-Ove Waldner, you'll see that sometimes he'll be attacking and then he'll put in a side spin block, or especially against a defensive player that's trying to attack, and he'll muck their rhythm up a bit. So it can. So it's just the similar principles, just coming around the side of the ball there as you would on the backhand side. So that's the backhand and that's the forehand. So give it a go, and if you can add it as part of your game, that's great. Remember though that your basic strokes are still really important. These are just little strokes that you can add on as a bit of a flourish to your game at the end.
Yeah, that's really good advice, Alice. Because I think I see that on their backhand, and sometimes it's not because they really want to. Sometimes they're caught out of position and they kind of just quickly get their bat there and end up making that kind of shot. And generally, yeah, you want to be playing that backhand. But like you said, it can be good for some variation, so you can sometimes try it. And I think that variation is often like trying to slow the ball down or play a drop shot with that shot. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. We've got a question from Dario. And Dario says, how do I make an effective backhand serve? And what about the toss? Should it be higher or lower?
Okay, yes, so Dario, you can do both. You can do a high toss or a low toss with your backhand serve. The only thing is that it has to go up that distance away from your hand. Make sure that you get a toss that's comfortable for you. So some people like to throw the ball up higher. Some people like to just throw the ball up lower. If you throw the ball up higher, it's going to give you a little bit more time to get your hand out of the way when you toss it up. It also adds a little bit of difficulty because you're hitting a ball that's dropping down a bit faster as well. But see what works for you. See if the high toss or the low toss works for you. The other important thing with the backhand serve is where you have your bat in relation to the ball, whether you have your bat above or below your the hand that you've got the ball in. So you can do either. Again, some people find it easier to do that so that they can get the hand out of the way. Some people find that's easier than throwing the ball up past the bat to start off with, or that. So yeah, give both a try, experiment a bit, and see how you go. And then the other important thing with the backhand serve is to just utilize your wrist a bit more, relax your wrist to get more spin. You can modify your grip slightly with the backhand serve. So instead of the full shake hand grip with the fingers wrapped around the handle like that, you can just release them a little bit, and that allows you to utilize your wrist in that motion there and to get more work on the ball. Okay, so rather than that, where your wrist is working across that way, we do that, and then your wrist is working in a bigger range of motion. So there's another tip, just to try and generate a bit more on your backhand serve.
Yeah, good advice there, Alice. Again, I think that the key to a lot of service is variation and deception, isn't it? So with that backhand serve, I guess to make it really effective, you want to try and mix up the backspin and the topspin and make them look as similar as possible. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So trying to get different variations of spin, different variations of placement, speed, and you could even just mix up a variation of high toss and low toss, similar to people to what people do with the pendulum serve. So sometimes they throw it up higher, sometimes they throw it up lower. So you can incorporate both types of serves if you want to.
Excellent. And we talk about serving a lot in our Serving Secrets course on our website, so have a look there. There's a section on the backhand serve. Okay, so I hope that helps you out, Dario. Get out and practice and give it a try. All right, moving on to the last question from Shay. Shay says, hi, Alice and Jeff. I tend to have a lot of difficulty when looping half-long balls with backspin, as they go too high over the net and my opponent can just block it or smash it down. How do I achieve a low arc when this happens?
Okay, this is so this is starting to get more advanced with your technique and your strokes. So if you think about the ball coming off the end of the table, so if the table is here, often we tend to do this to get the action of the bat going up much more vertically to lift the ball up over the edge of the table. So we're doing that. That tends to get the ball to go up higher in a higher arc. You can brush the ball over a little bit more that way, so just coming over the ball. But to do that, you really need a fast brushing action, because if you don't brush the ball fast, the ball is going to drop straight down back into the table. So it's a difficult stroke because you need to really brush that ball fast to get it to go forward, lift it enough to go over the net as well. It's a very, very slow, small margin of error type of stroke. Needs a lot of practice, but it's a really effective stroke. So you can lift the ball up more vertically and higher sometimes, or sometimes you can come more forward, but remember, you need much more speed on your racket to generate enough friction to grab the ball and send it forwards that way over the net.
Yes. And that can be a really hard stroke also, because if the table sort of ends here, if the ball's just off the end, sometimes you can't get a lot of forward motion, which is, I guess, why we tend to come up more vertically on that one that just comes off the end of the table. So
Yeah.
I think firstly, though, also that higher ball, if you get a lot of spin on it, it's not going to be an easy shot for your opponent. So you can actually work on the higher one as well and try and get a bit more spin, and then also think about your placement. If you get that high spinny ball into their backhand, that is really a difficult shot to smash. So you can work on two areas there. You can work on firstly improving that first shot, and then you can also work on a different sort of stroke where you try and keep that ball a bit lower with spin.
Yeah. So yeah, good advice, Jeff. So yeah, those two strokes can be really effective. So so work on both. See how you go.
Great. All right. Well, that wraps up the show. Thanks for the advice, Alois, and I hope the weather warms up for you.
Yes, I hear the rain tumbling down, but it's good for the garden, Jeff. Good for the garden.
Excellent. All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching, and don't forget to visit pingskills.com, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.